Here once again is our stick. We have the tape at the top end or tip of the stick. We're going to start off with our normal grab, a 1/3, 2/3 grab, meaning 2/3 of the stick is towards the tip, towards the tape, 1/3 at the back at what we can call the handle of the stick. We're going to start off with some recap of what we've seen in the past before we get to the new maneuver, which is to flip it 2 rotations in the air and catch it behind our back with the other hand. We're building on the techniques from prior presentations in order to do that. One of those techniques being flipping the stick over the back of the hand so we get a little bit of momentum, allowing us the torque to flip it in that 2 rotations, not in the same format as we would do a juggling pin, in which case we would have the stick facing out and flipping it by the handle, but because the center of gravity is in the middle of the stick, we're going to be rotating it this way, aligned with our body, and then we'll also do it next to or by the side of our body. So this is what we saw in the past. We're going to flip it over the back of our hand and then back over the other way. So that's not the 2 rotation flip. That's the starting point to get us the rotation that we're going to need in order to flip it in the air, 2 rotations. Let's do it again. Back on over. Let's do it with the other hand. So we've got the left hand palm down. We're going to flip it over the back of the hand this way, back over. One more time, back over. So now that we have that rotation, we're going to go back to the right hand, palm down. I'm going to use that rotation now to continue the flipping of my hand so that I can flip it in the air 2 times and then catch it with the other hand. So we did that in a prior presentation. So whenever I flip it in this format with one hand, I'm going to catch it with the other hand. That's going to be the easiest way to catch it. Let's try it again. Flipping it over the back of the hand, giving us the rotation to go into the air, catching it with the other hand. Now, of course, we can do it on the other hand. So now we have the left hand face down. We're going to use the rotation of the flipping over the back of the hand to release, flipping it 2 times, catching it then with the right hand. So flipping it over, boom, catch it with the right hand, back on over, flipping it, catching it with the right hand. So we looked at that in more detail in a prior presentation. Now what we want to do is do that same thing over the side of our body. So now we're at the side of the body. I want to flip it and catch it over the side of the body so that that's one way I can make it a little bit easier to reach behind my back and catch it, which is the next maneuver, noting the key here is to flip it well, not to be able to catch it well. Catching it well is great too, but it'll be easy to catch it because you won't even really have to move. You just got to put your hand behind your back and it'll just land in your hand if you can flip it right. So we want to catch it right back there. Now, note that there's 2 ways that we can kind of do this. We can flip it in the front of our body, which might be easier to do, and then I have to spin my back around to actually catch it. So if I flipped it in the front of my body and I rotate my shoulders, notice my point of view, I can see the stick all the way down to right here, and then I can twist around and catch it. The other way I can do it is to simply stay on this side and flip the stick at the side of my body, which means I can do the same kind of thing looking over the side of my shoulder as I reach around this side to catch it. So let's take a look at it. So now I flipped at the front of the body and notice how big of a reach I'm going around the back because I'm rotating around my back. I can see my view will be able to see it almost all the way down to the catch. And then I'll just pull it around to the other side. And I'm not going to do anything fancy right now. I'm just going to put it right back in my hand. Rotate, flip it. There's the catch behind the back. And I'm kind of overemphasizing the flip in the front of the body, right? So that I can flip, so that I have to do this massive turn in order to catch it behind my back because we're really catching it kind of on the side of our body. This would be the more natural maneuver, but possibly a little bit more difficult to execute the flip on the side of our body so that basically I can just reach around and I can keep my feet kind of squared out going forward here and do a minimal movement as I catch it, minimal rotation of the shoulders, right? So now I'm going to go boom. And so now you can see a much less extreme rotation of the full shoulder. My point of view, I can still see the back of the stick around to like right here, basically. So there's not a whole lot of time between it leaves my sight to where I catch it, really, if I wanted to see it all the way down. And that's going to be kind of like the key, right? So we'll do it again. Boom. Couple more times. Boom. And now I'm going to do it on this side. Notice I'm starting with my left hand because for me, that's actually my better throwing hand. Not really for a baseball, but for the stick, it is for some reason. So then we're going to go over here. And then, so this is the same thing. Now I'm doing that extreme reach around because I flipped it in front of my body. So this is kind of more of an awkward thing, but it might be easier to throw this way because you're flipping it in front of your body. Now, notice I'm trying to keep my feet squared as well. If you're going to rotate around, this is one way that you can kind of pivot your body. Like I can actually step back, and then it would be a more natural kind of twist as I twist basically around. But I'm trying to kind of keep my position in the same spot, which means I'm doing a massive torque of my back. This is one way that you can turn like a 180 or 1/4 degree turn. Like you could flip it in front of you and then turn your back so then you would be facing the wall, or possibly turn your back so when you catch it, you would actually be facing a 180 degree the other side. But I'm trying to stay in the same alignment here. Now it's on the side of my back. Here's the catch right there. And my view, probably I can see to right around here, right? And then I caught it probably right around here. So we flip, and then there's the catch. I can see it all the way right around to there's possibly the end of my view. So there's not much time before I can't see the catch. Here's the back. So here's my extreme twist. And again, that's an over-exaggeration of the twist. It would look a lot cleaner if I did a little leg work. I moved my feet, but I'm trying to keep planted here. So we'll have an extreme turn. And now here's just the side. So now I'm just reaching further across my body. See, I'm reaching pretty far across the body. So I'm still kind of catching it on this side of my body. On the other side of my body, I'm just reaching all the way across with my hand. So we go boom, reach, bam. And so then we'll go back to the front here. Let's try it with the right hand. I'm not as skilled with the right hand, so you can see the difference. So there's, now I'm twisting all the way around for the catch. I'm not as skilled on the toss, at least. So there's all the way around for the catch. Notice when I toss it, this hand should come up to right here, which allows me to flow. My shoulder should be able to flow easily around. But what I tend to do is jerk this hand back, which isn't, that's not good. So there's that. So now we start on the side of the body. So now it's a much cleaner look because it's just right on the side of the body. And now here's the back. So we'll start with the right hand, and here's the extreme turn to catch it. So I'm flipping it in front of my body, which means I got to turn around, which is kind of ugly. But again, if I moved my feet, then like you can imagine, if I stepped back, what would happen is my shoulders would be squared off this way, and I would have turned a full quarter turn. So it's a way that this is a way that you can rotate your body if you wanted to turn around, in a fancy way. You can catch it behind your back and turn. And then here's just on the side of the body. So there's the catch. And then, so here's this view on the right hand here. So here's the extreme reaching all the way around the back. So now I'm rotating my whole body around versus starting on the side of the body. So now I'm just kind of looking right over the side of my body here. So now I'm just seeing my view. I can see peripherally, pretty close to where the catch is. And then we're going to go back to the front here. Okay, so now we might want to get into like a little bit of a routine. So notice if I want to practice this one hand over here, and I just want to keep repeating that hand because it's most likely that we'll have one better hand and one worser hand, and we possibly want to get the good hand doing it well, and then maybe work on the other hand. So we might want to work on one side of our body at a time. But instead of stopping and starting completely, we might want to flow a little bit to get to this hand. So this is just the same thing with a little bit of a flow. So I catch it behind my back, and then I'm pulling it down. Notice I'm down here in the same kind of side-to-side motion we saw before. So then I can rotate it up. I rotated it all the way up that time. And then under So now it's under my arm like we saw before, and then I'll pull it down this way. So now I'm at my starting point where I can flip it over the wrist again. So over the wrist, catch it behind the back, and then now I'm out here. I flip it up just to give it another little routine within the flip, within my process, then under the arm, right? And then I can pull it down with my other arm, giving me back to my space where I can go into my flip again on the one hand. That's my focal point, that flip. And then this is my little routine in between, which I'm pretty comfortable with after doing. And then you pull it back down, boom. And then back to that little routine, and then the flip, and then boom, boom. And you can get into a pretty good groove on this if you get fast at this, right? This could be just a little flow in and of itself that you can then put into, switch around with the other stuffs that we put together. So there's just that little process. And so there is that. And we could do it on the other hand, same thing on the other hand. So now I'm catching it over here, and now I do that routine, put it back under my shoulder. Now I'm gonna grab it with my right hand because my point of focus is to get it down here. That's where I want it. That's my reset point so that I can flip it over my hand again, execute the catch, and then pull this arm around, flip it around, catch it, and flip it back under the shoulder. So that's just to give me it's basically just loading up to get me back into the tossing point in a way that gives a little bit of a flow. And so here we go. Not quite as good on the toss. See how my right hand kind of, I pull it back down here. It should be going up here. That's why it's not quite as. So now I'm flipping it around. I'm going to try a different routine. Now I'm just going back to back. So this is actually a little bit difficult because, I have to catch it behind my back directly into lining up to flipping it again. So that's a little bit tricky because you'll start to catch it on the back of your leg, and it's also not as kind of cool looking somewhat because everything's behind your back. You want to do behind the back and then do something in front of you typically, because it's kind of weird to be executing the stick behind your back like all the time. But just to practice going like side to side, it's useful you can obviously practice both hands. Okay, paso. You can practice both hands and try to execute. One hand will probably be better, and then you can go back and forth to practice your non-good hand as you compare it directly against the good hand. All right, so now I'm going to do another little just exercise with it. So I'm catching it behind the back, and then let's see, behind the back, and so now I'm just adding an added little flip in here. So instead of going back and forth, I'm just adding another little flip before I go back into it. So I catch it here on the same side and then flip it around instead of going directly into the flip. Now, this is fine. That's kind of cool. I like that, but it doesn't really go across the body in front of your body again, which kind of feels natural to me before you go behind the back again. So I kind of like going back and forth across the body and then behind the back again. Don't drop it, dude. So behind the back. So this, I'm not sure we did this before, but this is just going side to side. So notice I'm going to pull it back here, and then I can go from side to side, and I'm just basically rotating it around to each hand. So up, and then I have it here. I'm going to rotate it around, catch it in the middle, rotate it this way, and back on over, and that loads me back up on the other hand. Catch it around the back of the hand, and then I catch it right in the middle there, back over around the back, and that loads me back up to this spot to do the flip. And then I've got it here, and then I rotate it around the back of the hand. I'm catching it. Notice I'm catching it like at the bottom end towards the tape here, and then I rotate. But when I cock it back into this hand that I'm loading up in, I'm back to the handle. So I'm rotating over here. I'm at the tape. I'm rotating around the tape end, and now I'm rotating back into the handle.